What's up, people? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me. So today is a sequel. It's part 2 of how I organize my crates. Now, before I start, if you could do me a huge favor, hit that like button. It'll help my algorithm so more people can see this video. And if you don't subscribe, make sure you subscribe. Lots of stuff on the way. But anyway, if you haven't seen part 1, make sure you check that out. The link is in the description. I talk about why I designed my crate system, why I have it, and I go in detail about all my dinner crates. Like every dinner crate I have, why I made it, how I use it, and every other detail in between. So definitely check that out.
But today, we're gonna talk about my dancing crates.
Yeah! So my dancing crates I'm gonna talk about today, I made specifically for weddings. Now keep in mind, if you don't do weddings all the time, I mean, weddings are the most open format event ever because you have people that are like young, super old, everybody in between. So I think these crates will work for most events. But when I do a club, I have a different crate system because that includes like more hip hop, more like just stuff I can get away with at the club. And then everything's unedited for that. When I do a Sweet 16 or a prom, I have a different crate system for that. But in general, this is my main dancing crate, and I do still pull from these dancing crates when I'm doing any event. I still refer to these crates. I know what songs are in there. I know like I might be able to find what I need in there. So I still use them regardless wherever I'm at. But I definitely had weddings in mind when I made these crates. So in general, I think it's incredibly important to have some type of crate system when you're DJing, especially when it's dancing time. When I started DJing, I used to mix off the top of my head. I learned what songs worked. I know what songs kind of went together. You know, you get a pretty good idea and knowledge, right? You know a good amount of music. What started to happen is that like a lot of my sets kind of were the same, you know? Like how many songs can I actually remember off the top of my head? And so many times I would leave events thinking like,
oh man, I should have played that, or I should have played this, or this would have worked. I didn't think about that, or I couldn't remember this one song that was in my head. I couldn't think of it, so I had to go to another thing.
You know, like that kept happening to me. And I thought that if I can make a detailed crate system that had no fluff, that was nothing but bangers, that like I narrowed these crates down to like the songs that I know will work if programmed and mixed the right way to the right crowd, obviously, but just the bangers, nothing but bangers, that I could have a way deeper bag, meaning that like I could pull out songs out of my ass that people would never see coming, you know what I mean? And I could never run out of things to play, never have to question like, man, what should I play next? And never have any regrets at the end of the night saying, man, I really should have played that because everything's right in front of me. DJ Jazzy Jeff said something a while back and it really stuck with me. He said that a good DJ isn't all about skills. It's really about what you play. See, a lot of DJs tend to play the same records, the same ones that work. You play it safe, right? And of course you have to play a lot of those records. It's just a part of our job. But it's about those deep records or the ones that you haven't heard in a while. There's so many songs out there that will make people dance that no one plays. Like, think about that. Think about how much music is out there in the world, right? Millions of songs. You don't think there's songs out there that like not a lot of DJs play at all that would still get people grooving? That's been my journey. Like it's been my literal goal for the last 10 years to find all those songs, all those hidden gems that like,
wow, I forgot all about that song. Nobody plays this.
But it will work, and it works. And that's what sets you apart from other DJs. Setting up these crates can be time consuming. It'll take a while, but it's well worth it. Let's get into these crates, shall we? So my crate system looks a little bit like this. Now, if you're not sure what some of those crates mean, I'm gonna break it all down right now, and that brings up a perfect point too, that your crate system should make sense to you. So when you're naming your crates and stuff, you wanna name them in a way of how you think of music, of how you think of the songs that are in there. And I'll explain why I named my crates, what they're named and all that, but it might not make sense to you. You might not agree with me. So you should always name your crates the way you comprehend and understand music. So my first crate is called Bangers, and it's basically my dance floor starter. So it's the list of songs that I use to start a dance floor. So if I just open it up cold at a wedding, right? All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to dance. Bam, the first song I hit. Or if you do a slow song, right? And then the first dancing song you play after the slow song, bam, it comes from that list. When I open up a dance floor, I try and use a different song every single time. Don't get stuck in a rut just using Uptown Funk. Don't believe me, you know, or whatever you use. Don't get stuck in a rut doing that because your sets are gonna sound alike. If you use a different song to open up the dance floor every single time, then your sets are gonna be different. If you open up with 100 BPM, it's gonna sound different than a 70 or a 128, and so on. It'll take your sets in different directions. So I highly recommend you use a different song, and I created this crate just for that. So my crate includes Don't Stop Till You Get Enough by Michael Jackson, Uptown Funk, obviously, Yeah by Usher, September, Earth, Wind & Fire, Shout, This Is How We Do It, Jump Around, you know what I mean? Like all songs that you can legit, they're bangers, you can open up a dance floor with. So every time I go to open up a dance floor, refer to that crate, pick one out, make sure it's different every time, and then see where my set goes. Now my funky crate is just filled with a bunch of songs that I think are just funky. A lot of funk music is in there, but it's not all necessarily funk music. It's just songs that I think just kind of have a funky beat. Like Boogie Shoes to me is kind of funky, but it's technically disco, you know? So I just have all my funky music. So if I'm getting funky, you know, my set's getting funky, or I want to just like, when I have a groove to what I'm playing, I refer to that crate. My oldies crate is everything from like doo-wop and like my Runaround Sue stuff to Motown, Ain't No Mountain High Enough and all that. It's stacked. I probably got like 30 something songs in there, and it's just nothing but the bangers. So if I got an older crowd, or if, you know, maybe I'm starting off a little slow, trying to make the old people happy at first, I just refer to that crate and watch people jitterbug or whatever they do to that music. I don't know. Cha-cha shuffle, the Charleston, huh? Next is my white girl crate. So you probably guessed what's in there. I think it's a very important, it's probably one of my favorite crates that I have for dancing. At the end of the day, we need to keep the ladies on the dance floor. It's a big rule. If you don't know that, if you're just starting out, it's very, very important. If the ladies are on the dance floor, the fellas will follow. Never play for the fellas, always play for the ladies. So I made this crate basically for the ladies. It's got a lot of white girl music, you know, your typical Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and stuff like that, but it's got a lot of music that like all girls like. So it's really for just for all women. When I have a lot of women on the dance floor and I'm trying to like just build that up, pretty much every set I do at a wedding, I kind of refer to that crate to kind of mix at least a little bit of that stuff in. It's filled with a bunch of, I think I have 30 something songs, all just the ones that just work for the women. Like just, it's for, the whole crate is just for women. If you don't have a crate that's just for women, if you don't do any other crate that I talk about today, just make a white girl crate. It's so, so important. Like we all should have one. Every situation, every place you DJ, every event, club, I don't care where you're at, you want to play for the women. That is the key, and that's why I made this crate. And by the way, if you want to see what's in any of my crates, there is a link in the description. All my crates are going to be at that link. You can see what's in there. I have detailed lists and all that stuff. You can kind of use that as a base and then build upon that for your own crates. Now, speaking of the white girl crate, if I can give you a huge tip for when you're making your crates and your playlists, watch chick flicks. I know it sounds crazy, okay? But you gotta understand, we're playing for the ladies, and a lot of the songs they might like or they might belt out, they saw it on a movie. Pop culture drives music like you would not believe, and chick flicks have all the best songs in there that girls love. And if you watch a chick flick, like the popular ones, you know, like Bridesmaids, stuff like that, you're gonna see a lot of songs there like,
wow, like actually, I never thought about playing that song, and I wonder if it'll work.
You'll play it at your next wedding, it'll work because they've all seen that movie. Think about it. So watch any movie that your girl's watching, or you know any girls that are watching, your sister, whatever, watch those movies with them, okay? Learn. Study pop culture. It's a big part of what we do. Next is my Latin fuego. See what I did there? Fuego means fire, you know? So... Anyway, Latin music is really, really, really popular now. Always has been. It works for everybody. I still play like Danza Kotoro, even like, and you like how I said that, huh? Had a little accent there, huh? Right? Even at like all white weddings, I'll still play a Spanish song and it'll still go off. Like it's crazy. So you definitely need some type of Latin crates. What I did for myself to kind of help myself out, because like I'm not a Latin DJ, like I don't do a lot of Latin parties that are 100% Latin, but I do have Latin people at my parties, right? I broke it down into a couple different subgenres where I can play whatever type of music I need, like kind of on demand. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to like look stuff up and try and remember because I'm not going to. You know what I mean? Like I really prepared myself for this because this was one of my weaknesses years ago. So the first subgenre is Latin beats. Just basically songs that have a Latin beat, a Latin flavor to it. You know what I mean? Like that beat. You mostly, all the songs I have in there are usually like 128-ish, like in that range. But, you know, Pitbull, stuff like that. Danza's in there, you know, just different, you know, the conga, I think, by Gloria Esteban, you know, the come shake a body, all that stuff. That's kind of like all in there. So I can refer to that. If I kind of got that Latin flavor going, I want to keep that going, I go to that crate. The next crate is like dance hall and reggaeton. All the top hits with that, you know, not just Gasolina, but like all the good stuff like with that. So if I want to keep that vibe going. So that's like same thing, kind of a Latin beat, like doo, 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 but like in the 100 BPM range, right? Then the other three are salsa, merengue, and bachata. So those are three things that like I'll get a request for every once in a while. Like you ever been at an event and they come, okay, play bachata. I'm like, holy shit, what's that? You know what I mean? Like I made those crates, and basically what I did was I put 3 of the top songs in each of those crates just to get me by, right? I don't do Latin events. So, you know, I just have the 3 top. I consulted all my like Spanish friends and stuff, and they told me, and then like I put those 3 top songs in there. So if I get a request for bachata, I know I can do like a 3-song bachata set, and then I get out because like I don't want to stay in there that long anyway. So it allows me to still be a hero, still play a couple bangers, like, oh, all right, this white boy knows what he's doing, and it gets me by. You know, can I do a whole Latin event? No. I'm not, you know, but that's not what I do, you know what I mean? Like I stick to what I'm good at or whatever, but it's the most perfect list to kind of get you by any of those requests. And those are also located in the link in the bio. If you want to check that out, you know, they're definitely there, and they'll save your ass. It's like my, yeah, it's my Latin save my ass crate list thing. Now, next 2 folders are classic rock and modern rock. I have them separated. It's basically all the danceable rock. So like your classic rock will be like your AC/DC, you know, the Shook Me All Night Long, Living on a Prayer, all that type stuff, right? And then the modern rock, a lot of stuff that people sleep on, you know, Lit, you know, My Own Worst Enemy, or Third Eye Blind, you know, I want something else, or your Blink-182 and, you know, Killers and stuff like that. All the stuff that like I kind of grew up with, you know, like late 90s, early 2000s kind of rock that went on down there, all the sing-along stuff. If you got the right crowd for it, you know, I picked out all the bangers for that list, and I could just go off on like a nice nostalgic set, have everybody kind of belting it out, losing their voices and stuff. Now, the rest of my crates are organized by decade. Some of them have subgenres, the ones that I use most. I'm sure you do the age game when you're DJing. You're kind of figuring out how old they are and what you want to play. So having music organized by decade is super important, you know, because then you know where to go, right? So basically, I have a 70s folder, an 80s folder. It's my favorite songs in there that works time and time again, just bang, nothing but bangers. And when it comes to 70s and 80s, I only put the songs in there that kind of have that 70s sound or that 80s sound, you know? So like my 80s folder is more like David Bowie, you know, and Don't You Want Me Baby, like all that stuff, right? Like the 80s music, not like whatever rock, like just 80s music. And then same thing with 70s. 70s is like mostly disco and, you know, a couple other hits in there, but just that 70s sound. So that's what I tried to stick to with those 2 folders. Moving on to the 90s folder. See, I use a lot of 90s because of my target market and doing weddings and everything else. So like in the 90s folder, I had to break it up in between club and hip hop. So hip hop's all the 90s hip-hop bangers, right? Biggie, all that stuff. Or depending if you're West Coast, Tupac. Whatever works for your area for the hip-hop, but that's kind of what I have in there. And then the 90s club is all your, you know, What Is Love? Or like, Pump Up the Jam. Like, you know, 90s stuff like that. You know, Waiting for Tonight by J-Lo, which might have been released in like 2000, 2001, but that's another thing too. Like my crates, right? I might have a couple songs in my 90s club folder that actually came out in like 2000, 2001, but it still has that 90s club sound and feel and beat, so it's gonna mix great with the other ones. So I want it in that crate. Like I think of that as like a 90s, like my 90s folder has that 90s sound, you know? So don't get hung up on exact years, you know? If you have one song in there that's not specifically in the 90s, if it still has that sound, put it in there. Now my 2000s crate, most used crate ever. As for you, I'm sure you play a lot of 2000s music. Same thing, I organized it into hip hop, and I also have like a dance pop folder as well. So it's mostly like 128 stuff and all just like pop that came out then. Oh My God by Usher and all that. 2000s hip hop is gonna be all 2000, Nelly and Usher again, like all that stuff. Anything that came out in the 2000s, like that's all gonna be in there. I probably have 50 something songs in there. Like it's super, super stacked, but same thing, only bangers, no fluff. Like there's no better feeling than when you're like mixing and you kind of realize like,
wow, there's only 30 minutes left of this party, but I got so much fire to play still. Like I have more than enough. Like I'm not gonna be able to play it all.
So then you're just picking like, wow, then you're just hand picking all the best ones, quick mixing it like, take this and take that and hitting them with so much fire they don't know what to do, you know? That's what happens when we have crates stacked like this. There's so many songs you'll forget about mixing off the top of your head. Like I'm telling you, you'll see. And then I have my 2010s crate or current. It's basically all current music from the last 10 years, basically. That's kind of what I call current. current, right? So like the pop, you know, dance would be like, you know, your Shut Up and Dance and like all the new like Pitbull stuff, Give Me Everything, the newer stuff that came out in like the last 10 years. And then the hip hop, for that hip hop, I kind of have like a lot of my trap stuff, a lot of the trap stuff that I know like will work at weddings if I have a younger crowd. You know, a lot of Drake is in there, even some like, you know, a little older stuff like, you know, like Bottoms Up or, you know, like the Mo Bamba's in there, obviously, you know, some Travis Scott, just, you know, stuff that, you know,
walk it like I talk it.
Just stuff that I know that like are super hits that'll work at weddings and that have a lot of young people. You know, you have a younger couple, you got a younger crowd there. It's okay to play some newer hits. Don't just stick to the wedding stuff or the basic, you know, early 2000s. They'll dance to it, but if you really want to see them go off, obviously you play some more current stuff and, you know, they're going to love it because that's their era music. So I definitely stack that with all the stuff that'll work, everything that's clean, everything. Just basically the top bangers. How many times are you going to say top bangers, Nick? Like, all right, I think you guys get that none of my folders have fluff, right? You get it, right? I've probably said it a million times at this point. But anyway.
There's no fluff in my folders.
And the last part of my wedding dance crates is for slow dances. I got tired of playing At Last every single time, or Unchained Melody, or Can't Help Falling in Love with You by Elvis, that sort of thing. It just got old. I play the same slow songs every time. Like, why? Switch it up. So I made a detailed list, and I organized it into two categories. So it's modern and classic, right? So your classic is going to have the Etta James and all that stuff. But the modern, like I have Sam Smith in there. I got like James Arthur in there, your Ed Sheeran, your John Legend, like all the modern songs. So depending on the crowd, if I have a younger crowd, I'll slow it down with a newer song. You know, if it's an older crowd, or, you know, generally at least one per wedding, I'll do a classic song for everybody because there's always going to be some older people there. But I have myself a variety. I'm not slowing it down with the same song every time. Trust me, every single wedding DJ on the face of this planet plays Elvis, plays Etta James. That's what they play. That's what we're all trained to do. They are the top slow songs of all time. But switch it up. Set yourself apart, you know? And that's why I made those crates. It's just cool, you know? It's just playing something different. So that's it, people. That's my entire wedding dancing crate system. I hope you learned something. I really, really hope you take the time to make your own wedding dancing crate system. You're gonna thank me later. It will literally set you apart from every other wedding DJ out there. Trust me, just take the time. But a lot of videos on the way. Make sure you subscribe if you don't subscribe. Hit the bell to be notified, and I'll see you guys next video.